Good morning from the Sepang International Circuit for the final round and race of the 2019 Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup. Yesterday, following an incident at turn 10 on lap 1 of the penultimate race in 2019, Fritz Munendar tragically lost his life. He was a fierce competitor, a multiple podium finisher and winner in the class, and lined up yesterday on the grid in a bid to try and win the 2019 Cup. The Asia Talent Cup has lost a friend, and Indonesia has lost a rising star, but Fritz's family has lost one of their own, and our thoughts remain with all of those who knew him. But as a result of his passing, the number 4 in the Asia Talent Cup has been retired from the class, and today it's been decided by all riders that they will race in his honour. We go racing to honour Fritz Munendar, and there is still a championship to be decided here today. The two men who will be competing for that are Takuma Matsuyama and Sho Nishimura. 12 points separating them as they come round from their sighting lap to line up on the grid. Matt Dunn and Fran Wild here set to bring you the coverage on this final race in 2019 in what will undoubtedly be a very emotional outing for everybody involved. And of course, that does mean changes to the grid as well, as Fritz Munendar had qualified 5th, and all riders will be moving up. And Tachikon Boisri, instead, the number 5, will be lining up in 5th place as well. We've just had Moto3, Moto2 and MotoGP warm-ups. Set to be a big race day as it is, with a World Championship line on the line in Moto2 as well. But will certainly be an emotional one here in the ATC. Good morning to you, Fran. The stage is set, of course, and it should be one heck of a showdown, and this, of course, is absolutely the best way, as riders decided to do him justice and to honour him.
Absolutely. Good morning to everyone, or evening, depending on where you are in the world. Like you said, very emotional day yesterday, and of course still this morning. Very much racing in memory of Fritz, who was, of course, a key competitor this season. Had some really impressive performances, and like you said, one of Indonesia's riding stars. But as you also mentioned, Matt, it's by rider vote that we have this race today. The talent promotion director Alberto Puch gathered the riders last night to say, hey, how do you feel? This is what's happened. This is what's happening. Do you want to race? And everyone said unanimously, yes, we would like to race. And they've also talked to the riders again this morning and said, you know, after a night to sleep on it, is everybody still absolutely sure they want to go racing today? And again, we've had a unanimous show of hands from all the youngsters on this grid. So very much racing for Fritz today. And like we said, also with the cup on the line, so it's a very mixed occasion for these guys down on the grid.
Absolutely, and in conjunction with that, they'll also be riding with a black dot all on their fairings to honour him as well. So that is a mini tribute there to the fallen Indonesian rider. Matsuyama then lining up on pole position today. Sho Nishimura is championship competitor alongside him, and we've seen in recent races that Sho has got one heck of a start in him. You're used to getting down towards the front end and the first corner in that whole shot position. But the man right behind him on the grid, Tachikon Boisri, well, he could be an ever-present threat as well.
Absolutely, yeah. We've seen the number 5 come through, a bit Dovi-esque from a little further back on the grid. But Sho Nishimura, yesterday especially, he was almost too good a start. It made me worry a little bit for a few seconds, but no, the Japanese rider just got it absolutely right. And very brave as well, around the outside into turn 1. Always can be a bit of a risk, because if someone else has a crash on the inside of you, you may end up skittled out as well, which is really not what you want when you're fighting for a cup. But all was good for Sho yesterday off the line. And then we have Shoki Igarashi alongside his compatriots as well. He could be an interesting force to be reckoned with in this race. No pressure for him.
Yeah, a Japanese lockout off the front row. They did seriously well in qualifying, though it was your championship competitors. Looking at the times, who were the only riders able to be within that 2:16 bracket. But such is the nature of this Sepang International Circuit, 2 massively long straights, prime spots for slipstreaming, and then with the flowy nature of pretty much everywhere else on the circuit, we're not expecting anyone to be able to get away, but this is the Asia Talent Cup. Anything can happen, of course. And as you can see on your screens there as well, the tweet confirming from the Asia Talent Cup that the number 4 has been retired from competition in the series. So the safety car is taken off from the grid. When it comes back around, the riders will be taking the tyre warmers off. Umbrellas will be leaving the grid and they'll be getting ready to start their warm-up lap. Here's Herjan Firdaus, another Indonesian rider. He lines up 4th on the grid today, heading the 2nd row. And we talk about riders. It's all about Takuma Matsuyama and Sho Nishimura for the championship, but there are so many other riders who can take podium places from them, have a real say in how this championship turns out today.
Yeah, very much so. And this man could be one of them as well, Tachkorn Boisri. He's a winner already this season. As you can see, 4th in the championship, but just out of contention by a single point is the Thai rider. But he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. And it's not just about those two guys in the fight for the podium, the race win, or at the front of this race. And you can see Alberto Puch in the middle of your screen, just making his way down the grid as well. Come to see these guys off for race 2.
So many guys here looking for glory and so, of course, to honour Munandar as well. Syarifudin Azman, the last time we were here, it didn't go too well for him down into the final corner as he was battling for a podium spot and maybe even the win. He unfortunately took down one of our championship contenders, Sho Nishimura. But since then, he's very much learned from his mistakes, been very, very clean coming into the battles in the final corner. And that sort of learning from his mistakes has really paid off as he's found himself with 3 podiums since that outing here in Malaysia. A 3rd place and a 2nd place in Thailand about a month ago now. Blimey, that doesn't seem that long ago. And then a podium in Japan as well, and just missing out on the podium in that lead group of 5 in the 2nd race in Motegi as well.
Yeah, some really good performances from Azman of late, like we said. And from this man as well, Harrison Voigt, the Australian, not quite being able to get in that podium fight, but you can see real progress from him throughout the season, which is, of course, the name of the game in the ATC. It's not just about coming in and winning from the start. It's also about the talent that you can show and the progress as well that you make. One of the key objectives of the IATC is to discover and foster talent, not just take it when it's well polished and then put it on a different bike. So really good to see the likes of Harrison Voigt making those big steps forward this season. Yeah, and the key competitors from each year's series, of course, are brought through. They can be brought through into Europe to race in the Junior World Championship for the junior talent team, of course. We've seen, of course, Billy Van Erde and Haruki Noguchi from last year's 2 primary championship contenders racing in the Red Bull Rookies MotoGP Cup as well. So this really is the first stepping stone of what could be a long road to MotoGP for these guys. Absolutely. So we're off on the warm-up lap then. Looks like everyone's got away well, I think. Can't see any dramas on the TV or down from our commentary position. And so we're all underway then at Sepang, and Boisri looking keen from the off, even on the warm-up lap. Hitting the front, bit Lorenzo-esque that. But I think he could be one to watch today. But the qualifying times are pretty interesting. There is a fair gap between the likes of Matsuyama and Nishimura and the 2nd row, which is now Firdaus, Boisri and Azman. But Boisri and Azman, though, exactly the same lap time. So that could be very interesting. Definitely can't choose between them on pace as it stands. But of course, then it'd be the 2nd fastest lap that will be taken into consideration for those grid positions. But yeah, so it's a 2:16.9 that's pole and a 2:17.8 that's row 2. So there's definitely a little bit in hand for the 2 guys who head this grid and who are fighting for the cup today. But of course, race conditions, it's a long race. Anything can happen. It's not just about whether you can go around Sepang the fastest once, as it is in qualifying. It's very much a race of tactics, endurance, much more, and tyres, of course, and then the other guys that are with you out there trying to make sure you don't finish first. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, today's race was set to be a little bit shorter, but with yesterday's race cancellation, it's been moved back up to 13 laps of the Sepang International Circuit. And with a lap where they're going around about 2:16, 2:17 seconds, it is a long race for these guys. A big ask. The conditions here are probably tougher than anywhere we go, but with this being the Asia Talent Cup and a lot of these guys being from regions with such temperate climates like this, well, you can't say they aren't used to it. Yeah, this is the thing. It's definitely the toughest round we have for us. Yeah, for the commentators more than the riders. A few of the guys down there will be well used to racing at this track and in this, in these temperatures, rather plural, in these temperatures, conditions, humidity especially is a factor as well here at Sepang. But it doesn't look like we're going to get any rain, certainly. Really bright and sunny day on this Sunday in Malaysia. We came out the hotel this morning and were quite surprised quite how blue the sky was. It's usually a little bit interesting, and you can never quite tell, but today it looks like we've got a really nice sunny start.
But of course, with commentators' curses, I think you've now damned the
downpour
MotoGP race. Yeah, or maybe some of the races later on for that. Well, here they come around the final corner then. In the centre of your screen there, that is Sho Nishimura. He lines up second on the grid. The number 11, the yellow helmet of Takuma Matsuyama. He lines up on pole position. There he is. The biggest race of their lives about to take place here. The final one in the 2019 Asia Talent Cup. And the race for their friend and competitor, Fritz Munendar, who will take the 2019 Cup Series. This is a bit like track cycling we're watching at the moment now, with these guys lining up as slow as possible to get this start underway.
Yeah, you can see Firdaus just waiting there further up the grid, but it looks like we're all pretty much getting in position now.
All ready to go. The green flag will wave at the back of the grid. The man at the front departs, and then the red lights will come on. We're about to go racing here at the Sepang International Circuit for a Fritz Munendar, the Asia Talent Cup. The final race gets going. Who's going to get the run to the line? That was a great start from Sho Nishimura once again, just as he did yesterday and in the previous laps as well. But he's neck and neck with his major championship rival, Takuma Matsuyama. He's got the jump on him down to turn 1, but no, it's 13. It is Sharifudin Asman who gets the whole shot into turn 1. Now very carefully through towards turn 2. It is ultra tight in these turn 1 and turn 2 complex, but everybody through turn 1 safely. Easy does it as we flip down towards turn 3 as well. Everybody through safely now.
Yeah, everybody through. An incredible start then from the home hero, Asman. Just seemed to almost kind of not be intending to quite take that whole shot, and then arrived on the scene behind the number 3 and 11 and thought, well, okay, I'll go past you then. But a really nice job then from him to get into the lead of this race. Like we said, again, great start from Nishimura. Super cool under the pressure. And Matsuyama...
Oh, Matsuyama's down! That is the championship potentially. Matsuyama has gone down. Oh, what a disaster for the Japanese rider on the first lap. Thank goodness he's up and okay. Oh, what a disaster already. Oh, he's so disappointed, poor fella.
You can see, yeah, that's awful on the first lap as well, to have made that great start and then crashed out. Like we said, he is up and okay, but at the moment then, if Nishimura stays where he is, he has a much bigger chance now of taking the cup then this season, because he had got a bit of a deficit, and it was definitely ball in Matsuyama's court before the lights went out.
What drama on the first lap here of the Asia Talent Cup, and I'm not sure if Sho Nishimura will even know what's happened, but I'm sure he will know, at least when they come around and he sees his pit board. Here's what happened once again. Tipping in, he won't have any idea. Blimey, that really was, well, almost could have been a cold tyre sort of crash. That one just flickered in, and he was lucky with his foot being caught then in the handlebar to be up and standing after that one.
Yeah, you can see almost, went down very much with the bike, but up and okay pretty quickly. I think it almost looked like he just takes a minute to collect himself and let it sink in there before getting to his feet. Must be very, very disappointed, because he has been one of the riders of the field this season. Incredible performances and wins from him. So, yeah, just good to see that he's okay.
Well, the championship is not done, though, because while Sho Nishimura is out front and Asman takes the lead, he is in the lead as we come across the line for the first time. He does still have a point deficit, so we cannot afford that chasing pack to buff him around too much, to beat him up all that much and send him back through the pack. Otherwise, Takuma Matsuyama might find that he's the champion from the gravel. And, well, that's not exactly the conventional way of taking a championship, but stranger things have happened here. Asman, though, up 5 places, pretty much into the first corner. What a start that was. He means business here at his home race.
Yeah, very much so. So Sho Nishimura then, before this race started, was 12 points behind, but he does have one more win. So if he equals Matsuyama and pulls out 12 points in this race, then he does take the championship. But it's going to be an interesting one then. Like we said, we're not sure if he's aware of that yet. Have to see if they're able to let him know, or if they're going to let him know. But at some point, I'm sure he'll certainly become aware on track that, hey, I'm not seeing that number 11 trying to pass me and hassle me for a little while.
He was definitely an ever-present figure in all of the recent races that we've had. Matsuyama, what a shame that is. His run of looking cool, calm and collected, getting those wins ice cold, has really come to an end then. What a shame. And let's look behind us. What about the battle for the podium? It's Putra versus Igarashi versus Hamada, Boisri and Batumios there. Firdaus in 8th place. That is a massive group for that third spot. Who is in that third place at the moment? Running a little bit wide there. Will they maintain the position there?
That was a bit of a cheeky little cut back in there after that little error. But yeah, that group battling for the podium really is huge. Really fierce competition. It's Boisri at the front of it then. And as you can see now then, Nishimura very much on terms with Azman in the lead. I think the Malaysian certainly has one tactic and one tactic alone, which is as soon as the lights go out, just go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the likes of Nishimura, though, will know that he's probably got the pace on him over race distance, as has more often than not been the case this year. But Azman, really, really impressive performance in this so far. And they've got a fairly good gap to that group as well. So if they don't start losing too much time and they can keep up some good pace, they've got a good chance of making this a duel. Yeah, they've definitely broken the slipstream, that is for sure. Even with these monstrously long straights, these Moto3 bikes aren't that slow. It's not that long for them. You can get a good time if you're within a few bike lengths or so, but not at that sort of distance. Look at them, the buzzing train thunders past the commentary booth there. Is it Sho Nishimura looks to be making a bid for the lead down into turn one. That wasn't a great move down into the ever so tight turn one. Azman's got a fight on his hands, and maybe Nishimura doesn't even know that Matsuyama is there. Clearly he's had one intention and one intention only, which is to go out and try and win this thing. That is basically all he could do. Oh, that's Thong Nopakan, the number 6, who was looking a bit racy there up the inside of into turn 2. Got a little bit tight onto the rear wheel. I think that was Feardaus there, but he's battling with the number 15. That's Batumios just at the back of this group. Yeah, it's a pretty fierce battle for the podium at the moment. You can see they're almost 6-7 wide there, or at least it looks like from that camera angle. So they're very much claws out early on in that group. But that, of course, is going to cost them a little bit of time as well, especially while we've had one pass for the lead and really clean at the end of the main straight. That doesn't really cost these guys time as they continue to pull away. 13 points then, the gap at the top of the championship at the moment, but will that last for long? Blimey, Nishimura just lets his brakes off as Azman takes a look up his inside. He says, absolutely, you do not do that to me, sunshine. I want this championship and I want it through a win. They're neck and neck going down the back straight now, breaking down into turn 9. Ultra tight left-hander before flicking him right to turn 10. Nishimura does not yield. He does not want to let that man through on him. I don't know if he can be aware at the moment then that Matsuyama is out of this, because this is very much a ride thinking he needs to win this race, which of course he does not. A second place would give him the cup title, but Azman is definitely out there to party in this race too and make sure that he gives himself the best the best shout at a home turf victory. But both of these guys then at the moment class of the field, but they do need to be careful. Azman almost immediately proving me wrong there and starting to fight it out, which of course would see them slow up a little bit and give a bit more of a chance to those just chasing behind, which I think is now led by Putra, the number 16. They're not quite the fastest men on circuit. The last time around, Thong Nopakan and Voigt were the fastest on circuit, just by a couple of tenths, but the riders mainly chasing them. Just in the background of your picture there, they were out in the next second in that lap time that time around. They all set 2:19s, whereas these guys set 2:18s. Now, with all that battling going on, which lap time are we going to see that they set this time around? They come across the line, and Azman and Nishimura, 2:18s for the both of them, but Hamada, the wild card that we saw for the first time out last time in Motegi, he's the man on the move. He set a 2:18 last time around as well, but only a tenth or so slower than these guys. He's leading that second group from Igarashi, Putra and Boisri. Yeah, so you can see someone went a little bit wide there in the background of shot. At the moment then, we have Azman leading this home race once again. Nishimura in second. And yeah, I do hope Sho knows that this doesn't have to be a win and he's not going to put everything on the line if he doesn't quite need to. But you can see then that gap now 2.3 seconds from those guys dueling it out for the lead to this group of an awful lot of riders fighting for one single place on the podium. Yeah, they absolutely are. Putra currently the man occupying that position, but he's under threat from both Igarashi and Hamada, the Japanese duo. Those guys have definitely won a podium to their name before the season comes out, especially Hamada. How impressive would that be, coming in as a wild card last time out? His second race here, you can see him there, the number 24. Igarashi, the number 14, just in front of him. Some really impressive performances coming in from these Japanese riders. Yeah, very much so. You can see Hamada super low off the bike there compared to the guys just ahead of him. Really different riding style, and he's going to go for it then. He's up 2 in 1, I think. Yeah, 2 in 1. And he even makes the apex. Impressive move, and just see if he can keep it then around here. I think he will do. Oh, that got pretty close. I'm not sure who will have come out in front of that one. I think Putra's just trying to take it back, but not quite a way through then. And it's Hamada that retains that position. Really, really impressive move from him.
The beauty of these really super lightweight bikes, they're slightly a little bit of a step down from the Moto3 World Championship bikes that you see out on circuit a little bit later on. So the beauty of it, and also the difficult part as well, is so much of a line choice. Some of the lines can be just as fast as each other, pretty much as you just saw back there. Hamada going so wide at turn 9 on the exit and cutting it finally into turn 10, pretty much the same speed as Putra just behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget as well, this final corner at Sepang is literally cambered to create different lines as well and give riders different choices and create an opportunity into that final corner to go a bit tighter, run it a bit wider, and see how you can get the jump on the guy ahead of you. So yeah, it's a good battle always with these guys, and like you said, you can go 3-4 abreast into a corner and somehow don't lose out too much. But we can see then the gap at the front. These guys are just pulling away as that battle continues, and it's now up to 4 seconds between these guys and that battle for the podium.
Who's that? That was number 18. I think that was Voigt going up the inside and into third place there. Excellent stuff from the Australian. Really impressive, that one.
Yeah, using that slipstream really well with Harrison Voigt there to take over in third. Obviously, if you're not the lead of the group coming onto one of these straights, that almost helps you more because you've got a bigger hole in the air punched ahead of you by more bikes. So obviously getting it anchored as he did and managing to keep it nice and clean through turn 1, a nice move from the Australian.
Very, very nice indeed. But Sho Nishimura, although these guys are having a bit of a battle, they do want to, each one of them wants to lead. The key factor is neither of their moves, they're all very clean, not messing each other's lines up too much, not making them lose too much time, and that is why they now have a 3.4 second gap over the other podium guys. So unless Nishimura is going to make a mistake, this championship could well be his, whether he finishes from first or second place. And judging by his pit board when he came around last time, there's no indication there that Matsuyama has gone down. We didn't see it at the end of the first lap, but maybe he still doesn't know.
Yeah, it's very possible. Not sure exactly, and we're just a little bit too far down on pit lane to be able to see for ourselves as well. So it would be interesting to know if he does know or not. But at the moment, like you said, obviously he'll want to win this cup with a win, but he doesn't need to, and that second place would be more than enough to give him the necessary points. But Asman at the moment, big credit to him, sticking with Nishimura, who, was really impressive here the last time we raced here. And Asman, again, that big step forward, at the moment, still very much true on home turf, despite that little bit more pressure.
Well, at the moment, we have Harrison Voigt occupying that third place, and I was wondering where has his performance come from. He's slowly been building and building with his results. As we look down the championship standings, he currently occupies 12th place. He had a crash in the last race at Motegi, but before that he was 9th. But previously, on our last visit to Sepang, he did actually get that 4th place finish in that second race. So he clearly likes the Sepang circuit. Of course, we mentioned yesterday into the build-up to yesterday's race, these guys, they have a heck of a lot of laps around this circuit because not only is the selection event taking place here, they have another race here and a test as well. So this is the circuit that these riders know best.
Yes, it is. Like you said, pre-season testing happens here, where they not only get some laps on the track, but they also get a few simulations. They do some starts, line up on the grid, everything they're going to need for a year in the ATC. So yeah, they definitely know this place pretty well, and we've had another round this season earlier on, like we said. But I am very impressed with Asman, at least for the moment, just able to stick with Nishimura, although it looks like it's getting maybe a little bit more difficult just to tag onto the back of the Japanese rider now.
Yeah, going into turn 1 and turn 2, and especially on the exit towards turn 3, it did look like Asman was conceding a fair bit of ground to Nishimura, had his leg off the peg as well, which was a little bit of a confusing one, but he's clawing it back in this more flowy part of the section.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it'd be interesting over race distance because we've seen Sho Nishimura be able to do this and take the pressure throughout the whole race and keep that pace as well. Really good at being able to make that performance last and take the flag. So Asman, bit of a test for him. But nevertheless, I mean, a second place would be an incredible achievement. So to still be in with a shout at this win at this stage in the race is also super stuff from him. But Nishimura looks fairly solid out front. No real nerves showing at all for the Japanese rider. And yeah, like we said, not sure if he is aware that this would be enough to take him that cup title.
Just watching our timing screens there, we've just seen Abdul Mutakim has crashed out, but rider okay according to our screens. There he is, the unmistakable yellow helmet, very similar to Matsuyama's, well, pretty much exactly the same design, so that's a real shame for the Indonesian rider. Here's what happened. Oh, we just lost the front end, asking a little bit too much of that front tyre, lost it fairly early, and into the gravel he went, tumbling through.
Yeah, so up and okay immediately then, Abdul Mutakim. But you can see, yeah, it was pretty early there. It was a good straight line slide that he ended up with. But yeah, good to see him up and okay. And we have another attack for the lead then. Asman right back on the back of Nishimura. I think we spoke too soon, saying maybe it was costing him a little more effort to try and stay with him, and makes that move, and now have to see if Nishimura is going to attack straight back. I think it looks like he will. Yeah,
he absolutely will. He'll probably pull in from the slipstream on the run down to turn 1, so it's pretty clear there. Nishimura very strong in this first part of the circuit, but Asman just able to claw him back in. Of course, Voigt and helped by these long back straight and the long front straight as well. But just watch here what Nishimura is able to do. He moves past him, and I wonder if on the exit he can just pull out another couple of bike legs. He does exactly just there, and now it's full throttle all the way through this long turn 3. He really is super class through there, just pulling out 2 or 3 bike lengths on Asman.
Yeah, like we said earlier, he just looks super solid, does Nishimura. There's nothing to say at all that this is one of the most nerve-wracking races for him of the season. Really good performance, really solid, and yeah, some places on track you can see he's clearly able to just pull out a little bit of breathing space on the man behind him, but Asman then tagged right back onto the back of him again. You can see he's pretty strong through here, and that makes that difference to sandwich them back up by the time we get back to the slipstream areas of the track.
But look at this, Fran. The fight for third place is well and truly not over. Hamada, they're occupying it fairly comfortably at the moment. He's got Putra, who's eyeing him up and ready to try and make a move at any given time. Wasri behind them with the number 5. Then looks like you've got Igarashi. As we've got, just keeping an eye on these guys. It looked as though Asman was trying to make a move up the inside into turns 9 and 10, but Sho Nishimura closes the door like a pro.
Yeah, so it looked like maybe he was going to go for it, but really, if you can stay with him well enough to use the slipstream, especially on the main straight into turn 1, then, you know, why not wait for that? At the moment, Nishimura is certainly not getting away from him, and the two are still very much glued together. But yeah, that fight for third. Now you can see Voigt lost 4 places on when he was leading it. That is how quickly it can change, and there's still a huge group of them. It's all the way down to 12th place in Patumios, who are fighting for that third and that podium position. So, yeah, I think that's going to get pretty feisty as we tick down in the laps here.
Yeah, we're coming round to the final corner, turn 15 then, and that will be half race distance, well over half race distance, in fact, in this final Asia Talent Cup race for 2019. Sho Nishimura tries and squares off the final corner into the slipstream once again. This is becoming pretty uniform for the Japanese rider. On the Malaysian rider, he takes a look at his pit board, well in the slipstream, right over to near the white line on the circuit, down the front straight. He pulls out from the slipstream, breaking down into turn 1 once again, and he retakes the lead. Is this just a replay from the lap before? No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's the same move, but equally well executed there from Nishimura. Back into the lead of this race then, and Asman will just have to try and stick with him again. Like we said, through this early part of the lap, Nishimura definitely looks like he's got the legs on the Malaysian, but we'll have to see if he can stick with him then. Another 6 laps to go. There's by all means a lot of time left in this race for one or the other to start managing to pull out an advantage.
That was an absolutely awesome shot there as we see Nishimura and Asman approach turn 4. In the back of your shot you have a whole gaggle of ATC riders. That's positions all the way from position 3 down to turn 12. Position 3 last time around was Hamada. Position 12 was Patumios. Those guys all so close together, but they are crucially well over 5 seconds adrift of these guys at the front. And look at that, Fran, that looked to me like Asman wasn't fully tucked in there. He prefers to stick behind Nishimura, maybe to see where he can gain on him. He's definitely riding more reserve in these second and third sectors of the track.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think he definitely have
complete commentator's curse.
He's not going for it. But yeah, I think for me, if I was Asman, obviously he's taken a big step forward in the second half of the season and put in some impressive performances, but the guy ahead of him definitely could teach him a couple of things, I think. He is a multiple race winner. He's been in contention from the start of the year, so, you know, there's absolutely no harm done in sticking behind him and taking a look at what Nishimura is doing around this Sepang International Circuit. If he knows that he can stay with him, then he can stay with him and just take a look and then choose to attack a bit later, but we'll have to see. Now we've said that, he'll probably just just to, you know, go straight past him next apex.
Well, this is the first time that we've seen them come towards down the back straight, and Asman isn't actually in the lead, but it looks as though he was squaring that corner up, turn 14, to try and get a good run out onto the straight and make this move. He's out of the slipstream, breaking down, he's challenging Nishimura, but he's not strong enough on the brakes this time, or is he? And in fact, just letting him go through and keeping that first position this time around. I think maybe he's learned something in this race, and they know they don't need to mess around, because the positions 1 and 2, the fight for the win will just be between them if they keeps this way.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't take him now at turn 1 with that slipstream, we can call a little bit of a psychological game there from Asman in second, because he does look like he's had a couple of chances where he could have gone through if he'd chosen to. So Putra then at the front of this huge group battle for the podium. Nothing too crazy from these guys so far. Nice clean racing, but yeah, as we've said, that group is still just huge, and with a good few laps left as well, like, there's still guys right at the back of it. They've got time to pick their way through if they're just looking after it and keeping their powder dry and waiting for their moment a little bit later in the race to attack.
Might not have been anything too crazy going on, but for those eagle-eyed viewers, keep an eye on the names and to the left of your screen, because just occasionally you might see the guy in 3rd place or 4th place tumble down towards the back of this group. That's certainly what's happened to Hamada, who only a couple of laps ago came round across the line in 3rd place.
With a bit of a gap as well. And no, it's not because they've crashed or had a moment, it's just because the slipstream effect around this track just sees a huge gaggle of, well, a swarm is probably a better word, just suddenly fly past you. Into the braking zone, and there's not that much you can do about it, really. It's an art form in itself, choosing where you're going to be in a group like that.
Well, it looks like Putra, who's making a bid for the lead of this group at the moment. Hamada up the inside at turn 9, but just loses it from Voigt again then on the entry towards turn 10. But these guys, I'm really trying to work out whether it's Nishimura, who is just ultra strong in those deep braking zones, or if Asman's still just letting him have it. There was a bit of a twitch from the front end of Nishimura there, going down into turns. Which turns was that? That looked to be turns 12 and 13 that they were at. They were coming around 14 now, and then along this run of the back straight. That was a great exit that Asman had there, but there is, well, potentially second place in the championship then. Matsuyama in pit lane, okay, but of course bitterly disappointed. Asman back through to the lead then.
Yeah, so I don't know, I'm still would hasten to say that he wants to lead at the moment. Maybe he knows Nishimura will take him back at turn 1 and doesn't want to make it quite so obvious that he's sat right behind him on purpose. But yeah, Matsuyama then down in pit lane, looking pretty down about that crash, out of contention today then. But as you can see, he was up and okay, and now he's just got to wait for the last few laps of this race and see if Nishimura can bring this home. Must be pretty tense times down there for him. But no, it looks like then Asman has retained the lead.
Yeah, retained the lead, and Nishimura has not made any daring moves up the inside that time around. He had a big nod from his guy holding out his pit board along the pit straight, just signalling to him that absolutely P2 is okay for the championship at the moment. Jan and Ju watches on with Takuma Matsuyama there.
You can imagine if they've not told him Matsuyama's out, there's a small chance you might just see him wandering down pit lane.
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's
there
true.
we go then. That was the replay of that crash. A pretty fast one, but at least low side and no harm done. And he was up and okay after that, just despondent, losing the chance to fight for this cup. So right at the... Oh no, I thought the angle there made it look like Nishimura had taken it back, but no, it's still Asman then holding firm in the lead of this race. 4 laps to go. He's got a bit of breathing space there.
Yes, he has, but probably not enough to get through the long back straight without being slipstreamed by Nishimura. But will he decide in return to not make a move up the inside that time around? He can watch his fellow competitor and see where he's best on track for the next lap or two at the moment. They are completely safely in that lead. It's 5.5 seconds now they have over the likes of Igarashi and Putra. Just seen on the timing screens, Fearhouse is moving up the order as well, inside that top 10 once again. But really impressive, and so 2 people we've not really mentioned in that big fight is Kasuma and Rollstone in 8th and 9th. They're having a very quality race as well, because although they might only be occupying positions 8 and 10, they're in that lead group for the podium.
They are, yeah, and that's like you said, that's a good performance from those guys. Shout out to them and everyone in that group. Certainly, yeah, a lot of those riders we've seen a little bit further towards the front at times. Then other races they've struggled, but today then it's everyone's podium from 3rd to 12th place still at the moment. So they'll take some heart from that in this last race of the season. So let's see now then, what's Nishimura going to do?
Yeah, they come across the line then, they're counting down, 3 laps to go. They're not quite neck and neck, they're weaving all over the place. He loses the lead, does Asman, breaking down into turn 1. He's not going to make a move to try and reclaim the lead again. Nishimura just looks so strong on the brakes there, braking so deep into turn 1, making the apex perfectly. Now to square off turn 2 to get the best drive possible down through turn 3 and towards turn 4. Look at that, Fran Hamada. Well, I'm just about to say, he's just retaken 3rd place, but Putra has something else to say about that. They're coming through turn 3 now. This is absolutely quality, and look at that, the fastest lap of the race gone to Harrison Voigt. That is a low 2:18, but just for some perspective, that is still 2 seconds, well, 1.5 and 1 3/4 seconds slower than the pole position times that we saw yesterday.
Yeah, so obviously with a good few laps running this race already, less fuel, but a bit less rubber as well left to try and make those fast laps. But at the front, though, they're holding fairly good pace, but nothing too crazy. No one's really pushing to the absolute limit at the moment. I think we've very much got a game of chess between these two. And I expect now, with only 3 laps to go now, I think this is going to be down to the final corner.
Yeah, really, really good to see this sort of racing in the Asia Talent Cup. At the start of the season, you normally see it every year. The first race is when they come out. Nishimura took that first victory in Qatar, of course, you'll remember. But the racing there is vastly different than to what we normally see at the end of the season. They're much more complete races at this time of the season. They've had their lessons, etc., their coaching from all the staff at the Asia Talent Cup, and there are less sort of brash moves going on. Although when we started the second half of the season, you'll remember that race 1 back in Thailand, it was almost as if it was a brand new season once again. They forgot how to have safe and clean racing.
A little bit, yeah. That was some pretty high adrenaline stuff there in Buriram. But since then, yeah, this race certainly nice and clean, good close competition, no one going too crazy at the moment. So yeah, that's good to see. And then we have Asman and Nishimura, and then yeah, there's nothing to choose between these two, is there? I think this is going to be, now there's chance for a couple of dress rehearsals, and then it's go time on the final lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Really will be. What a showdown this would be. The best way, of course, to honour their fallen comrade in a quality finish to the Asia Talent Cup. And of course, in years gone by, it really has all the way gone down to the final corner. Even the last 10 metres, as Dennis Unju, Jan's 2 minutes older brother, will know all about that one in years gone by.
Yeah, so, he's not the taller, but he is the older.
God, look at this. 7 abreast down into turn 1 with these guys. Boisri round the outside into turn 1. Absolutely superb move from him to claim that 3rd place. He's just been sat there quietly watching all the chaos ensue around him in front, watching where everybody's going to be quicker in which part of the circuit, ready to make his move whenever he can. Of course, he's experienced at taking wins in this class as well. A win in Thailand, and of course a podium in the last race that we had at Motegi as well.
So Matsuyama then is just watching the race. You can see the orange there of the Red Bull KTM uniform of Jan Onju, who still looks down on pit lane. But yeah, at the moment then, nothing to choose between these guys still. No one's been able to pull that pin, because you see quite often, maybe with 10, 5, 3 laps to go, maybe not 10 in the ATC, but 5 laps to go, 3 laps to go, it's kind of the point at which if someone's got a little bit more pace in their pocket, they may then decide, okay, now's the time to push. But since we've not seen either of these guys able to do that, I think it's definitely going to be a duel. And you can see that battle in the background. It's like an army coming around the corner. Yeah. Have to see who's in charge next time around. But our timing screen says Voigt, but the graphics say Boisri. So it's pretty close to call there, apex by apex.
Of course, and you're seeing the live championship standings on your screen. I think you completely disregard and ignore those, because the bottom line is, if Nishimura finishes 1st or 2nd in this race, he will be the 2019 Asia Talent Cup champion. But he does need to stay on. He can't have too much of a brash final corner move along with Asman and end up falling off the track or back through the pack, because he might well lose the championship if that's the case. But look at this, could be a dress rehearsal for next time around. We are on the penultimate lap here of the Asia Talent Cup. Asman pulls out the slipstream, but could he get a double slipstream effect for Nishimura? Breaking down into the final corner, Nishimura doesn't think about it this time around. It's the next time around that really matters for him.
It is. So now pay attention, is the slipstream enough out of this final corner to be ahead by the line? I don't think it is quite going to be.
Well, it could well be. Blimey, that is incredibly close.
You can see it's frozen the graphics slightly because they were so next to each other.
And it was, well, it says 11/100ths of a second across the line then. So the last lap, the final lap of the final round of the Asia Talent Cup in 2019 is a go here. Who will it be? Nishimura or Asman taking the win? Or will it be one of these guys picking up the pieces here? Bwasri came across the line that time around, occupying that third place. We're on the run down through turn 3 towards turn 4 here. One of the overtaking opportunities, but they don't really matter. The final overtaking opportunity is the one that matters down at turn 15. Keeping an eye in the background for any chaos ensuing then. And look at that, the last lap around, a 2:20, nearly 4 seconds off their qualifying lap time there. These guys, it really is a high-speed game of chess here. Flicking through this sort of section of the circuit, got to be so careful. Nishimura's conceded quite a few bike lengths to Asman. You thought it was going to come down to the final corner. What if it doesn't? What if this is Asman's break for freedom? Home glory in front of the home fans who are already packing in here to the grandstands. They would love to see a Malaysian victory. It might not be in the World Championships, but it could well be here in the Asia Talent Cup. Down into turn 9 and turn 10. Nishimura reeling him back in again. We know how strong he is on the brakes there at those deep braking zones. But what's happening behind them with that battle for third as well? You can't quite see because the distance has gone, but there's big shuffles on the timing screen all the way through. I hope we at least get to see that final corner for those guys as well. So into turns 12 and 13. Then it's all about how much you can square off turn 14. Nishimura, can you slipstream him to the line? He looks like he could be too far back, but it's a long stretch here along the back straight, coming round the back of the grandstand. The fans in the front grandstand are on their feet waiting to see who will be crowned the champion. It looks like Asman's got him. He's on the inside of the circuit. There is no chance of a slipstream, and even Nishimura can't break from that far back. It will be home here in the Asia Talent Cup, but the war was won by Nishimura. He comes across the line to claim the title, but Asman, the Malaysian, wins here in Sepang. What a victory that was. He is, and what a way to honour their fallen comrade. Who got third? It was Adinata Putra, the Indonesian rider. That an even better way to honour Munandar. Wow, what a race that was. That's how it's done, and that is how you pay tribute. What a final corner that must have been as well for those guys, because the battle for third, there are all sorts of shuffles going on there. Look at that, the emotion of Asman and the marshals bringing in the Malaysian flag, and in the spirit of fair play, they go and congratulate Nishimura. A high five, because of course these guys in the Asia Talent Cup travelling around with each other. They're friends as well as competitors, but look at that. Sho Nishimura then, your 2019 Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup champion. What can you say about that? So we do have some riders crashed out. Oh, in the final corner, what a drama that is then. Voigt and Hamada. Voigt and Hamada, they sadly went down at the final corner. So I hope we get a replay of that to see that what happened there. Matsuyama then talking to Alberto Puig to let him know what happened with that crash, but also most things that are important. Oh, blimey, there was quite a few riders who went down. Igarashi and Bwasri as well. So we only have 11 finishers. Everybody who finished got a point. Blimey, what happened at the final corner? The fans in the grandstand have a better view of it than I did. We haven't even seen a replay yet, but all riders okay. That is the most important thing here. So Bwasri, Igarashi, Voigt and Hamada all went down. Blimey, there's drama even after the flag on the timing screens as well. They're about as entertaining to watch as the race itself. Here's what happened at the final corner then, is it? No, it's it's Nishimura, your champion. Sho Nishimura's win though. He is the one who is going to take the first win of the season. Nishimura. And he takes the win. Wheelies aplenty as the riders come around to complete the cool-down lap. after an excellent race here in the Asia Talent Cup. What a way to kick off race day here at the Malaysian Grand Prix. Emotions running high, no doubt, throughout the paddock, of course. There is your champion, Nishimura. And he gives a tap and a rub to the black dot on his fairing. As I was saying before the VT ran, the Asia Talent Cup boys, they travel all around Asia from the start of the season through to the end. They're not just competitors on the track, they're friends off it as well. Well, look at that though. I bet he'll never forget this moment with Asman, a victory in front of the home crowd, and especially when it's as busy as it already is here at the Sepang International Circuit. The Malaysian flag, a Malaysian winner. Wow, I cannot even begin to imagine how good that must feel. A lot of whoop whoops going on with the fans in the crowd already. Hi Mum, everybody getting all their 15 minutes of fame, of course. Such is the structure of the pit lane of the grandstand we have here. Of course, when the riders come in, revving their engines, you can hear it ring out throughout the paddock. No mistaking with the winners when they come back in then. Ah, I can see it, you can't see it on your screens, but here is the champion entering Parc Ferme. Some lovely scenes just before that with Asman going down in there as well. Kaita Toba in Parc Ferme there as well. Having a look at what's going on, of course, first ever winner of the Asia Talent Cup, and then to go on to become the first Asia Talent Cup winner to then take a victory in the Grand Prix classes as well. Will we be seeing Nishimura in the future in the World Championship taking victories as well? Well, that's certainly the aim of the Road to MotoGP programs. And take nothing away from Takuma Matsuyama. Not really had an opportunity to mention him on the cool-down lap, but what a fierce competitor he's been, especially in the second half of the season. He really burst back onto the scene after the summer break with those dominant wins in Thailand. And then another win on home soil in Japan, fighting through the pain barrier after a crash and free practice. And then sitting back in that lead group, a solid top 5 finish for him last time out. Okay, you could say then if he had pushed through and got the victory in race 2 as well, he might still be the champion. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And there should be opportunities in the future for any of these guys to take championships as well. Look at that emotion for Adinanta Putra as well. Hugs throughout. A very, very emotional day. Dimaseki Pitama there as well. So not a dry eye in the house at that part of the Parc Ferme. As we mentioned, that is the best way to honour their fallen friend. The Malaysian flag adorned on Asman's back like a cape. Adam Noradin there as well. He's got a big day coming up with a home race as well. Oh, remember the emotional scenes last year when Adam Noradin finished taking the Malaysian flag to the grandstand in front. Hopefully we'll see something as awesome as that again. The appreciation from the home fans here, almost like no other. What a setting this is then to finish the Talent Cup for 2019, where it all starts at the selection event and then the pre-season test, rounding off here in the scorching Malaysian heat. Nishimura then took that title with a double win in Qatar all those months ago, back in March. 2 second places in Thailand. A win in race 1 here in Malaysia, the last time they were here back in July. And then unfortunately wiped out by the eventual race winner here today. At the final corner in race 2, Asman wiped him out. But learn from his mistakes, which is what it's all about, to take the victory here today. I think the price was worth paying back then for this sweet feeling here today. Nishimura then also, he might have finished 12th in Thailand in race 1 after he crashed at the first corner on the first lap. And then 6th place in race 2. He did think that back then after the coming back from the summer break, maybe he might have choked, but no, he came back fighting in race 1 in Japan. He finished 13th after crashing there on the final lap, remounting and finishing, and then of course winning that second race. That is the sign of a true champion. It's not about how many times you go down, but it's about how many times you get back up and bounce back, and taking that victory in the style that he did. Well, I was hoping we'd be able to hear from the race winner and eventual champion, but seems as though they're eager to get on the podium, understandably so. Why not, indeed, in front of this stellar crowd here at the Sepang International Circuit? There is Nakamoto-san, the former HRC boss, now working alongside the Asia Talent Cup, bringing through the stars of the future. Oh yes, so they are ready to go out onto the podium then, and we will have 2 podium ceremonies, one for this race and then one for the championship as well. Sho Nishimura, Adinantaputra, and the man of the moment, Sharafuddin Azman, take to the podium, but first it will be called up into the 3rd place. Adinantaputra. And Sho Nishimura, your champion, but 2nd place for him today. Did what he needed to do. But what about this man there? Look at that. He is over the moon with that home victory. He can barely believe it. Stuff that dreams are made of here in the Asia Talent Cup. Trophies handed out by Razlan Razali, CEO of Sepang Circuit and team boss in the Petronas Sprinter Racing Squad. How about that? He would love to see his countrymen on top of the podium as well. Listen to that. Goosebumps here in the commentary box. Probably not a dry eye in the house down there as the Malaysian national anthem rings out over the Sepang circuit for Sharafuddin Azman, your winner of the race here in Malaysia. Sho Nishimura, 2nd place in the race, and Adinantaputra, 3rd place for the Indonesian. Say cheese, everybody. And I think we'll be getting underway with the championship podium ceremony as well. Wow, what a way to round off the championship. Blimey, and they really are packing in already. Last year, queues for miles. Here are the final results then of the Shell Malaysia Motorcycle Grand Prix Asia Talent Cup Race 2. Syarifudin Azman wins by 8/10 in the end from Shoni Shimura. Adelantaputra third, from Herjan Firdaus fourth, Jacob Rollstone, Patumios there from Kasuma, Thong Nopakan, Luke Power, Kadir Urbe and Idlan Radwan, the wild card from Malaysia, finishing 11th with the final point. Everybody else crashed, but all riders okay, which is the main thing. And here are the Riders' Championship standings. Shoni Shimura wins from Takuma Matsuyama in second place. Third place will go to Afritza Munandar. And then Adelantaputra rounds out in fourth place. And you can't see it, but on your screens, you can't see it on your screens, but in the podium, there it is. The championship podium then, Takuma Matsuyama takes second place, Shoni Shimura first, and collecting Afritza Munandar's medal is Daniel Parado, his mechanic. I can't imagine how he must feel. My thoughts go out to him. And of course, Afritza Munandar's family as well. But now, time for the Japanese national anthem. Applause also then for the Japanese national anthem, and rightly so. An emotional finish here to the Asia Talent Cup for 2019. One big family is the MotoGP paddock, and the Asia Talent Cup an integral part of that, of course, so everybody's thoughts going into this race day, of course, with Afritza Munandar and his family and friends. Here are the highlights then for the final race, and it was drama from the get-go with Takuma Matsuyama and Shoni Shimura going head-to-head down into turn one. Who was going to concede first? Who was going to break latest? Well, this time around, it was actually Azman, your eventual winner, making a statement of intent right from the get-go here. And then, but it was drama from the get-go as well, as Takuma Matsuyama headed down into the gravel. His leg caught there, fortunately no injuries. Of course, still nursing a very tough injury from Japan in his right hand. Amazing that he managed to put in the performances that he did, and a bruised ego and pride more than anything there for him. But then it was all about these two. Syarifudin Azman versus Shoni Shimura, positions 1 and 2. All about them for the win, but the battle behind was as furious as ever. You can see Boisri in the lead there, and that was Mutakim going down on her, fortunately, in amongst the battle. Weaving all over the place with the slipstream here at the Sepang International Circuit. So easily done. But Shoni Shimura was an absolute demon on the brakes, as you can rightly see there. Matsuyama, all he could do was watch on from pit lane and hope maybe some safe misfortune would befall his compatriot there, and he would eventually take the title, but that was not to be. Azman comes across the line to take the win, but the war was won by Shoni Shimura. Absolutely sensational finish to the Asia Talent Cup for 2019. The pride of Japan, Shoni Shimura, you'll be seeing him over in Europe later on. And what about the World Championship in years to come? Absolutely sensational.